A North Carolina court on Monday ruled that the state's current congressional district map is illegal. A panel of 3 judges also blocked the state from using that map in next year's election. They said the map represents a Republican gerrymander, meaning the district lines were manipulated to favor Republican candidates. Joining me now from Raleigh, North Carolina is Nick Ochsner. He is the chief investigative reporter for our affiliate WBTV. Nick, always great to see you. The judges gave no date by which a new map must be drawn. So what did the court actually rule?
Yeah, so all the court did right now is said we're going to take a look at whether or not these congressional districts are legal or illegal. But until we make that determination, they issued what's called a preliminary injunction. So basically they said you can't use these boundaries right now. Don't plan to use these boundaries in 2020. And they actually put a hold on preparing for the 2020 congressional primaries. And they indicated that they could delay either the primary elections or all of North Carolina's elections that are currently scheduled for March of 2020.
So the judge's ruling can be appealed, but what type of map do they ultimately want to see drawn in North Carolina?
Yeah, and so we have a long way to go. The judges indicated, Elaine, that what they're going to do is rule on a motion for summary judgment. So basically try to get to a final decision on whether or not these maps are legal fairly quickly, within the next month or two. The judges indicated, though, that they have confidence that the North Carolina General Assembly, the state legislature, could draw new maps fairly quickly. That's because minutes before they issued this ruling yesterday, the same 3-judge panel approved new state legislative maps that were drawn by the General Assembly just last month in the matter of in 2 weeks or less. And so the court pointed to that yesterday and said, we know you can draw more fair maps fairly quickly, and so we're confident that we can take a month or two to look at the new complaints about the U.S. congressional maps, and if we decide that we need to throw them out permanently and entirely, that you guys could draw some new districts before the March 2020 primary.
So how could this affect delegate selection for the presidential nominating conventions?
Well, I think this actually throws a lot of things up in the air related to the presidential contest. Right now, North Carolina moved up its primary into March. We used to be way back in May and not really all that relevant to primary candidates, presidential candidates rather, in the primary years. But right now, the court said we might delay all of our elections, and so that includes potentially the presidential contest. So as it stands right now, North Carolina is going to have a presidential primary in the Democratic Party in March of 2020, but the court says maybe that won't be, maybe we'll move it later. It's far too early to know whether or not that's going to be the case.
Well, what type of precedent might this decision set for other states that are dealing with issues concerning congressional map drawing?
Sure, I think this is going to put a lot of eyeballs from around the country on North Carolina. So this complaint was filed in North Carolina State Court after the United States Supreme Court said political gerrymandering, which is the underlying issue here, is not a question for the federal courts. It's a question for the state courts. And so this will be the first time that political gerrymandering has been challenged in a state court. This could be the first time U.S. congressional districts are thrown out by a state court using that partisan gerrymandering, which would be just yet another kind of gerrymandering that state courts could rule illegal.
All right, Nick Ochsner for us in North Carolina. Nick, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.